Alright, so I know this is a tad late, but I didn't have time to watch it last night, so I'm going to do my review here of Sleepy Hollow Season 2, Episode 3, The Root of All Evil. And, yeah, let's get into this. Now, this story is pretty much Henry Ichabod's son, is planning something. He's got a coin. And it turns out that we find out pretty quickly that the coin is one of the 30 pieces of silver that was given to Judas to betray Jesus. And that's really cool. I like that the whole thing of what's going to be the big villain in here. It's not a monster. It's a coin. It's a coin that is causing all this trouble. It's not a monster or some kind of, witch or whatever. It's a coin. And again, it goes back to the title of it goes back to the age-old saying of, money is the root of all evil. In here, it's literal. So the story is that, they're trying to talk to Irving, but Henry has pretty much since he's his lawyer, he's forbid them from talking to him, and it's only getting worse. I mean, the new police chief is more or less keeping them split up. Crane has to literally sneak into the police station. He has to do all of this, and they have to do all of this. And I'm still convinced the police chief is up to something. She is, I would not be surprised that later on we discover that she's in possession of one of the others, because they even say, yeah, there's 29 other pieces out there of these coins that can literally, what they do is not really turn you evil, they just bring out the darkness in you and let it consume you. We also discover that the new police chief, I think it's Suarez or Sanchez, who, she was not only the one who put Abby and Jenny's mom into prison, into the psychiatric ward, she was also the one that, her testimony was the one that caused all this. And yeah, Jenny is forced into community service thanks to Abby's help, saying that she got her off with community service. And the story continues that we discover the first time they encounter this coin, Ichabod and Abby discover that their first encounter with the coin is from a woman who was a bank teller who was really kind and gentle, but then she went completely insane and just started shooting away at people trying to take money, and then in comes the police chief, conveniently gunning her down, which is then the coin is taken away by a man who later blows up the shop. So, blows up a flower shop with a pipe bomb, which is terrifying. But we also are introduced to a new character in this episode. We also have a new character called Holly. I know that's his last name, and they mostly just refer to him as Holly. Holly tells the story of the all the coins because he was a relic. He helped Jenny during her time when she worked for Corbin. That what happened was that he helped her collect rare items, and Ichabod does not trust him at all. He's pretty much saying, look, he's a mercenary. He only does this for his own gain. And eventually, when they discover the what the coin is. This ties into another secret story from Crane's wacky adventures during the Revolutionary War, where we discover that Crane was on a secret mission with a commanding officer. That they basically what they were doing was stopping this flow of currency that would corrupt fake currency that would corrupt the colonials' flow of money. And it turns out that the person in charge of that group was Benedict Arnold. And they more or less tie into the whole betrayal of Benedict Arnold with these coins bringing out his inner dark side. And yeah, that's interesting how they tied that in, because we all know history says that Benedict Arnold was the greatest traitor of America, and for the most part, yeah, he was a traitor, but if you know his whole story, he got a real shit deal, and this kind of certain points and events led to his eventual betrayal. He was a good commanding officer, he was a great leader, but history says that, yeah, he got some really shit deals on his end, and this eventually led to him, helping the British. But that's neither here nor there in this story. And it pretty much says, oh, it was the coin that unlocked his inner darkness. And Henry is... We don't know what Henry's doing, but he's more or less being this... anyone who's come in contact with the coin's lawyer, like the boy who blew up his own dad with a bomb. He gets in and we don't know what his whole game is yet, but he's planning something big. My guess is that he's getting his own army of damned. I mean, he's already got Irving's signature. He's got the boy, and he's planning something big. So the story continues. Sorry, I just had a total pause there. The story continues onward, and eventually Jenny comes in contact with the coin, and her whole thing is that she's gonna get a gun and blow away the person who locked away their mother, which is the police chief, of course. So also there's a hilarious scene in here where Crane goes off when the police chief says, hey, look, I told you not to be in here. And Crane goes off on this whole thing of, look, it is my God-given right, and I am free to be in this public place without, without being bothered. I didn't sacrifice everything I had just to get kicked out of a place that, the public can go in and out of freely. Paraphrasing, of course. And she says, look, you don't exist, so when I see some ID, you can do as you please. And this also leads to a hilarious scene in the bar when they meet up with Holly once more. And there's also another great scene between both Henry and Ichabod during the time in the police station. But yeah, getting back to the story is that Jenny's now come in contact with the coin thanks to Henry's manipulation, and she's head out to blow away the police chief, which then leads to another the finding out what could stop the coin's influence when you come in contact with it. Stained glass, which is blessed and holy and whatnot, so it can more or less stop the effects of the coin. Which leads to another scene where Henry's talking to a priest, and he's like, my son appalls me, and my wife is with another man. Speaking of Katrina, she continues to be useless. Because now she's more or less manipulating Abraham, but how much you bet that this is not going to end well for her? As I said once before, you're a witch! Do something! Even Abby says, look, she's a witch, she's a witch, and she's a mother. If you think she's going to backstab her own son, you don't know, the power between, a mother, the bond between a mother and her child, no matter how fallen they are. And that may tie in because she makes a point when she's talking to Henry again, when Katrina's talking to Henry, she says straight up, you're now living in the mansion that I gave birth to you. What does that say about you? We also find out that Abraham, Horseman of Death, also known as the Headless Horseman, is on a very tight leash by Moloch. He is on a very short leash, whereas Henry can go and do as he pleases. He can go and do whatever he wants, whereas the Horseman of Death is just told, hey, you're going to stay here, and I don't want to hear any bitching from you. And Katrina kind of gets in the Horseman's head. And Abraham ain't having that shit. But that's a minor scene, and again, I'm kind of convinced that this is going to blow up in Katrina's face. And from there we continue on with Ichabod, Holly, and Abby finally tracking down Jenny, but right before she's about to pull the rifle, pull the trigger, and Abby, eventually convinces her, helps Jenny fight the darkness within her, and they manage to get the coin away from her. And there's also a very good scene of Abby saying, look, I want to shoot her too. There is nothing that, Mom, more or less, but Mom abandoned us, and if you pull this trigger, we're going to go right back to square one. The bad guys are going to win, and everything we worked for is going to mean nothing. So, yeah, in that regard, Jenny manages to fight off the coin's influence, and Holly makes off with the coin, only to come back with a little gift for Ichabod fake fake ID to allow him to come and go as he pleases throughout the, he can now officially have a beer. Yay! So from there, we also, the police chief, again, I cannot remember her name. Sorry. From there, the police chief gives Abby a file on her mother, and we find out that her mother was tormented by demons and more or less sacrificing herself so her daughters would not, suffer the same fate as she did. Which is a very noble kind of thing until eventually you find out, yeah, she committed suicide, all because Moloch drove her to the point of insanity. And, yeah, Holly says, yeah, I'm going to go look and find the other 29 coins, and we end off with Henry burning down the very bed he was born in. Very good episode. Again, it's very cool to see a coin be the root of all, literally be the root of all evil. I think that's a very cool angle to go with. And I'm really interested to see next week's episode, because not only is it the Pied Piper, but it also looks like the Pied Piper got some tips from Connor Kenway from Assassin's Creed 3. I swear, if there needs to be an Assassin's Creed joke in there somewhere, because again, it's the Pied Piper is an assassin, which, okay, I'm all in. But anyway, guys, once again, I'm sorry for how late this review was, and also stay tuned, because not only is my Flash pilot review, my review for the Flash is coming up, but also my review for the next episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So stay tuned for those. And once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.